The Israeli negotiating team is heading to Doha ahead of key high-level mediation aimed at reaching an elusive hostage for ceasefire agreement. Hamas is warning that the talks may be doomed before they begin. Shin Bet chief Ronen Bar is heading from border security talks in Egypt to Qatar for renewed working meetings on the hostage for ceasefire deal with senior officials, including CIA Director William Burns. As the talks get set to renew, the family of hostage Daniela Gilboa today released a brief propaganda video of her shot by Hamas that depicts the captive, calling for the government to do more to secure her release.
I would just tell you that there has been some back and forth. As you know, we have a team in Cairo right now that includes Brett McGurk and the director of the CIA. They're meeting with their Egyptian, Israeli, and Jordanian counterparts, and there'll be follow-on discussions after that over the next few days.
Barr's talks in Cairo focused on plans to prevent Hamas from smuggling weapons from Egypt after the IDF eventually withdraws from the Philadelphia route it currently holds along the border. The discussions reportedly covered the construction of an underground barrier between the Gaza Strip and Egypt to prevent the smuggling of goods into the Strip. Even before the renewal of hostage for ceasefire talks, Hamas is warning that the mediation efforts could collapse due to actions by Prime Minister Netanyahu and the IDF. Hamas was referring to Netanyahu's list of conditions issued ahead of the talks and the IDF offensive currently underway in Gaza City. The White House said it was heavily invested in an agreement.
Look, we've been working this very, very hard, and there are still some gaps that remain in the two sides and the positions. But we wouldn't have sent a team over there if we didn't think that we had a shot here, and we're going to take every shot we can to see if we can't get this ceasefire deal in place.
And I'm joined now by bereaved mother Sarah Schwartz. Her son Segev Schwartz lost his life while fighting Hamas terrorists after they infiltrated Kibbutz Sufa on October 7th. Sarah, thank you so much for being with us. If you could first just share some memories that you could have with us about.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to talk about my son. He's my youngest son, Segev, who decided that he's going to join the combat unit, the Nahal. His other two brothers, Dvir and Matan, they serve in the intelligence unit. And his sister, Karin, the oldest in the family. Segev was in Sufa base. He wasn't in the kibbutz. Early in the morning, the Nukhba terrorists infiltrated the base, and actually they started shooting. My son ran with all the other soldiers to the migunit, the dining room, the place where it's a safer place. But when he came to the shelter, actually was wounded by a bullet. In the dining room, they fought for at least 7 hours.
7 hours?
7 hours in the dining room, while the terrorists threw grenades into the dining room.
Many terrorists?
Many, around 70, I believe.
So they were vastly outnumbered.
Exactly, and one of the grenades rolled into Segev's legs, and actually his body absorbed the grenade, and that is how he died, and 30 soldiers were saved as a result of that.
Because of his heroism.
Because of his heroism.
So many answers have not been given to the families of the fallen soldiers from what happened on October 7th. When do you think will be the right time to begin an investigation so that we can at least know what went wrong and avoid it happening again?
At the beginning, I thought that it's advisable that we should first fight and put all the efforts in fighting the Hamas terrorists. But now when I see all the demonstrations in Israel, which makes me very sad, because at the beginning, you know, I said, all the time I said, till the victory. And my son Segev had a remarkable personality. His life, all his life, he dedicated to unity. He united students and friends from all over the valley where he lives. And it didn't matter for him whether you are religious or secular, from the kibbutzim, moshavim.
And certainly his unit was made up of people from the entire spectrum.
Exactly.
And he believed in pulling them together, and he saved people from all these different groups. Before we run out of time, though, I just wanted to ask you this. Are you feeling confident that the Army and our government are making the right decisions currently as far as our soldiers are concerned? I mean, obviously, we all care deeply about the soldiers as we move forward. Are we feeling confident that we're continuing on until victory?
I wish I could feel confident. At the moment, I don't feel. I think there is a gap between the chief of staff and the government, and they should bridge this gap for the sake of our soldiers. Because we have to know that this army is a voluntary army. It's not like in Europe and United States. They get a very high quality soldiers with high values, and I think we should think very deeply before doing anything which can risk their lives.
And Sarah, would you say that everyone should serve from across the society? I mean, we're out of time now, but we need
definitely.
more soldiers.
Everyone should serve, because once you live in Israel, you should support Israel, and you should do whatever you can do in order, if you want to live in Israel, if you want to survive.
Sarah, I'm sorry that we ran out of time. We all participate in your loss, and we hope for better days for the people of Israel.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
I appreciate that.
Day 277 of the war in Gaza, and IDF tanks are again rolling in the center of Gaza City. The counteroffensive came after intelligence revealed that Hamas command and control centers, including an UNRWA headquarters, had been rebuilt since December, when IDF forces last operated in parts of the city. This was the fifth re-entry by the IDF since it achieved operational control over northern Gaza and central Gaza in January and February, but the first widespread incursion into the Gazan capital in recent months. Accompanied by tanks and airstrikes, the IDF said that troops from the 99th Division operated in Gaza City's UNRWA headquarters, among other locations. The forces have so far eliminated dozens of terrorists and located many weapons in the area. Strategically, the IDF appears to be operating in areas of Gaza City closest to the Netzarim corridor, where the army maintains a semi-permanent presence, allowing Israel to control access to the north for Palestinians seeking to return after fleeing south. It also enables Israel to coordinate deliveries of humanitarian aid directly to northern Gaza. The IDF continues operating in Rafah. Troops from the 162nd Division killed 30 Hamas fighters as they located and destroyed tunnel shafts and weapons. In Khan Yunis in Gaza City, the IDF struck 2 launch pads readied for missile fire into Israel. And in Sejaiya, troops from the 98th Division destroyed terror infrastructure and eliminated dozens of gunmen who operated anti-tank missiles and rocket units from the terror group. An officer was severely wounded in the fighting. And now for a special feature. Economy Minister Nir Barkat and ILTV Editor-in-Chief Maayan Hoffman sat down yesterday for an exclusive and wide-ranging interview. The full interview can be found on our YouTube page. Just scan the QR code on the corner of the screen that will appear during the feature. And now, over to Maayan. Let's give a listen.
Welcome to this special edition of ILTV News. I'm Maayan Hoffman, Editor-in-Chief, and today we're going to be doing an interview with Economy Minister Nir Barkat. Come along and let's hear what he has to say. So, Minister Barkat, thank you so much for meeting with us today.
Thank you.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is scheduled to speak in Congress later this month. What are the administration's main goals for this address, and how do you respond to the criticism that this might become an overly partisan visit where only Republicans are sitting in the room?
Well, first of all, it's a good opportunity to thank the President of the United States and the U.S. government and the U.S. people for the strong support of Israel and the challenges we have. I think that we must realize that Israel should not be involved in internal American affairs, and the U.S. should not be involved in Israeli internal affairs. It's for the health of the relationship.
But Minister Barkat, are we winning this war? I mean, I know that we've had some tactical wins, and you're talking about 15,000 terrorists down. The original goals of the war were to demolish Hamas, that they should no longer exist. We've sort of pulled back from that goal. The hostages are still not home, that we'll talk about the potential deal on the table. Is this a war that Israel effectively is victorious, going to be victorious in?
Let me put it in a different way. We have no choice. The jihadists of Hamas, and by the way, they're not the only ones in our region, headed the proxies in Hezbollah and other places like the Houthis in Yemen and in Syria. There's many terrorist groups, all funded by Qatar and Iran. Okay, their goal is that October 7th is just the first incident. They claim their will, their charter, is to do it again and again and again. So us entering Gaza and eliminating Hamas off the face of the earth is not just because what happened on October 7th. It's to eliminate the next one. The Israeli army has no choice but to enter Gaza, dismantle the terror infrastructure. One more important, very, very important point. What Hamas did when Israel left Gaza 18 years ago, they significantly funded everything to prepare for the next war. There's huge fingerprints of Iran in Hamas and what they've done, okay? And they're focusing on how to kill Israelis. Iran is not only threatening Israel. Iran is also threatening the Saudis and the Emiratis and peace-seeking moderate Arab states, Sunni moderate Arab states. The goal has to be to create an alliance, NATO equivalent, if you'd like, focusing on the threat of Iran. The countries are threatened by Iran. Strategically, Iran must understand that they're not going to get away with it. They're using their proxy strategies, their nuclear strategy. They want to create a nuclear bomb in order to use it. They've said so. I believe them. And we must collaborate together with our friends around the world to make sure Iran does not get their way.
Why haven't we gotten them home yet then? I mean, 9 months into this war, as you said, terrible conditions. The IDF and the government has come out and said probably at least close to half of them are already dead. Why didn't we go in a week later and get them? Why have we not pushed harder? Why didn't we stop the war to get them back?
We're talking about psychopaths that have come into Israel, created the worst atrocities that we've ever seen since the Holocaust. Raped, killed, took people to it's totally crazy what they've done. And negotiating with psychopaths that don't give any value to life. They don't treat the hostages like we see them, as people, as friends, as family. They see them as, I don't know, elements to negotiate with Israel and get what they want. And so dealing with psychopaths is very challenging in this world. And that's where we must put all the pressure on the psychopaths, not on Israel as a democracy that wants to get our people back.
Hopefully, at some point, we will have them home. We will have this war end in some capacity, hopefully victorious.
We have no choice.
We have no choice, as you said. So what does it look like in Gaza the day after?
The Gazan people, like the Palestinians in Judea and Samaria, have to decide, do they want to look like Gaza or Dubai? The people in Gaza have to decide, do they want to continue creating tunnels and preparing for the next jihad, or do they want to collaborate and live side by side to Israel? As long as they don't recognize Israel, any penny given to them, they will build more tunnels to kill us. Therefore, they must not get any capabilities to redo what they've done in the last 18 years. If they recognize the state of Israel and they want to collaborate and have peace with us, we'll find a way to live side by side in a way that eventually could enable them to focus on their economy. But it's not going to happen with Hamas. The Palestinian Authority also has to decide, do they want to peacefully live with Israel, or do they want to, as I say, a two-state for the benefit of eliminating Israel off the map?
Palestinian workers, we haven't been letting them into the country. That's still effectively in place, if I understand correctly. So what's happening with our construction industry, real estate, as a result of this?
I'm a big believer in foreign employees, mainly from peaceful countries. we had a shortage of 70,000 foreign employees before October 7th. And just lately, the government approved bringing 130,000 foreign employees, out of which 60,000 already arrived. We mainly are changing and we shifted the way we work from G to G, from government to government, to B to B, business to business.
Our economy, nonetheless, as you mentioned, is struggling. We have gone through 9 months of this. We've invested a huge amount in running this war, necessary, but nonetheless investments. It was just yesterday, there was a report on we're reducing expenditures to education, to health. I mean, how much longer can we go, and what is going to be the long-term impact on our economy from all of this?
I'm very optimistic as to Israel's economy. I know that throughout the wars, there's always a dip. Naturally, you have reservists go to war, and there's the cost of the war. But after every round of violence in our region, there's a huge spike.
Well, Minister Barkat, thank you so much for answering all these
My
questions
pleasure.
today.
In medieval times, blood libels ignited pogroms that shattered our people. And now echoes of these lies persist in new blood libels. On college campuses, online, in the media, and halls of power, Jewish communities are facing this haunting echo of history once again. That's why we must speak out and make our voices heard. Today, there is only one organization that truly brings together Jewish communities from more than 100 countries and effectively elevates the voices of young leaders standing on the front lines in this battle for our survival, the World Jewish Congress.
With news constantly bustling in Israel, staying informed can be challenging. So here is President and CEO of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, Yael Eckstein, to give us the 3 highlights of this week's news stories. Take a look.
Shalom, my friends, from here in the Holy Land. I'm Yael Eckstein, and here are 3 things that you should know about Israel this week. Number 1, the Israeli army has been working hard to secure the Philadelphia corridor. It is on the border directly between the Gaza Strip and Egypt. Many people call this the Hamas terrorist oxygen because it consists of many tunnels leading from the Gaza Strip into Egypt. And it's through those tunnels that Hamas terrorists are able to smuggle weapons. Securing this corridor is considered the 3rd phase of the war. Once Hamas can no longer get their hands on the weapons that they use to try to destroy Israel, then we can start to talk peace. Number 2, with some positive updates. On the week of June 24th, the Nova community held an incredible concert in Israel, where there were some of the top artists who came to join with the Nova community to dance. It was incredible to see how the people of Israel came out together to support these survivors of the worst terror attack in the history of Israel. And number 3, on some fellowship news, we received huge news this week where Israel's Ministry of Welfare signed an agreement with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews and Israel Lottery Association, the first agreement of its kind in the history of Israel, where all 3 parties will work together on providing for the basic needs of Israel's poorest citizens. We're talking about the elderly who can't afford a refrigerator, single moms who don't have a bed for their children, or that they need baby formula in order for their child to survive. This joint partnership will save lives, and the fellowship is so grateful to our donors for making this possible. Well, there you have it, friends. 3 things that you now know about Israel this week. Join me next week, same place, same time, on 3 more updates from here in the Holy Land. Shalom from here in Israel.
Well, a political crisis is underway in the Netanyahu coalition. Political pundits are saying that the government is in danger of collapse, with key partners issuing threats that could force new elections. The political crisis has been simmering in recent weeks over the ultra-Orthodox draft, the hostage prisoner deal, and a host of larger and smaller issues. The crisis boiled over when National Security Minister Ben Gvir announced his refusal to vote with the government unless he gets a seat on the so-called war cabinet. The government was forced to pull a bill scheduled to be voted on that would increase funding for religious councils. This following threats from Ben Gvir's far-right Otzma Yehudit party that it would not support the bill. The Shas party, led by Aryeh Deri, had been pushing for the bill and walked out of the Knesset in protest. The two have been trading angry accusations. Finance Minister Smotrich, who heads the right-wing religious Zionists, threatened to leave the government if Israel approves the hostage for ceasefire deal being negotiated later this week in Doha. He had this message.
אזרחי ישראל, זאת התמונה שנקבל בעזה אם חס וחלילה נחתום על העסקה המופקרת. העסקה הזאת היא תבוסה והשפלה למדינת ישראל והיא ניצחון של סינואר. היא תגזור למוות את דינם של 90 חטופות וחטופים שאינם חלק מהעסקה ותביא חלילה לאלפי נרצחים שימותו בטבח הבא של סינואר ושל המחבלים הנוספים מתוך המאות שישתחררו. אדוני ראש הממשלה, זה לא הניצחון המוחלט שהבטחת לכל אורך חודשי המלחמה, זה הכישלון המוחלט. לא נהיה חלק מעסקה של כניעה לחמאס.
Opposition leader Yair Lapid offered the prime minister a safety net on the potential hostage deal.
יש עסקת חטופים על השולחן. זה לא נכון שנתניהו צריך לבחור בין עסקת החטופים להמשך הכהונה שלו כראש ממשלה. הבטחתי לו רשת ביטחון ואני אעמוד בהבטחה הזו. זה לא נכון שהוא צריך לבחור בין חיי החטופים לבין הממשלה. שיעשה את העסקה, אם סמוטריץ' ובן גביר יפרשו, הוא יקבל רשת ביטחון. זו לא אמירה קלה, זו לא החלטה קלה. נתניהו הוא ראש ממשלה גרוע, כושל, והוא אשם באסון ה-7 באוקטובר, אבל הדבר הכי חשוב הוא להחזיר את החטופים הביתה.
Well, the Zikim Beach, located just 3 kilometers from the Gaza border, is expected to open on August 1st for the first time since the October 7th Hamas massacre. Some of the 3,000 terrorists that invaded Israel on that day entered the country through the water and onto the beach at the site. At least 19 people were killed. In the months following the attack, Israeli authorities have been working to restore the beach, which suffered considerable damage. Renovations include the addition of a large bomb shelter. According to Israeli media, 20 IDF soldiers will be stationed at the beach with an outpost built for their accommodation. The beach will initially be open only during the daytime hours. And from the beach, let's take a look at the weather forecast. Partly cloudy skies are expected tonight and around the country, with temperatures reaching lows of around 24 degrees Celsius or 74 degrees Fahrenheit. And then tomorrow, mostly sunny skies are expected alongside warm temperatures reaching highs of 36 degrees Celsius or 97 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all of your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels, subscribe to our newsletter, and explore our website, iltv.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I am Steve Leibowitz. Be well, and thanks so much for watching.